Good morning to everyone. You will learn about French Revolution. Who are called French? Which people are called French people? France people called as French people. Okay. In the year 1774, Louis XVI ascended the throne of France. So what is that? Ascended. Louis XVI came to the throne of France. అంటే రాజుగా వచ్చాడు ఆయన లూయిస్ 16. He was 20 years of old and married to the Austrian princess Maria Antoinette. She was belonged to that Austrian prince. At the time, treasury was empty. When he was king, at the time, treasury was empty only. Even though Maria Antoinette asked king to prepare a golden chariot as a gift. అంటే బంగారు రథం చేయించమని మేరీ ఆంటోనెట్ అనేది అతనికి లూయిస్ 16కి అడగడం జరిగింది. కింగ్ హ్యాడ్ given that gift, golden chariot. Even in that, treasury was empty. King did not rule well. He did not look after the welfare measures. Understand? Long years of war had drained the financial resources of France. France every time engaged in the war situation only. ఇప్పుడు యుద్ధాలతో ముళ్ళు తిరుగుతూ ఉన్నది ఎవ్రీ టైం. ఓకే, ఆల్రెడీ we discussed that estates, how many estates there in France society or French society? 3 estates are there. So what was the condition or the tradition they followed? That mainly for voting. Okay, so they followed according to the principle that each estate had only one vote. Understand? Louis XVI has determined to continue the same tradition. Understand? In that, but the members of third estate demanded that voting now be conducted by assembly as a whole, whereas members would have only one vote. Understand? We already discussed that each estate had only one vote. It's not correct. Even though they practiced that, it is the tradition of the French society. It was not good for the democratic principles. Some of the philosophers, they suggested that, like Rousseau in his book mentioned about social contract theory. So that's why people can understand that when the king rejected this proposal, the members of third estate walked out of the assembly in protest. Understand? Look at this picture. The third estate people walked out of the assembly in protest against this kind of system or tradition. The representatives of the third estate viewed that themselves as a spokesman for the whole French society. On 20th June 1789, they assembled in the hall of an indoor tennis court in the grounds of Versailles. This is called as tennis court oath. అంటే టెన్నిస్ కోర్ట్ శపథము అని చెప్తాం. ఎప్పుడు జరిగింది ఇది? 20th June 1789. They declared themselves as a national assembly and sworn not to be dispersed till they had drafted a constitution for France that would limit the powers of the monarch. This was happened, this proposal. Understand? At the same time, the National Assembly was busy at the Versailles drafting a constitution. The rest of France, seethed with turmoil, means very hot. The condition was very hot. France condition. Severe winter season had meant a bad harvest, means bad crop there. Due to failure of crop, the price rate increased, that price rate of the bread increased, that all the backers exploited the situation. They hoarded supplies of the food materials. After spending hours in a long queues at the bakery, crowds of angry women attacked into the shops. At the same time, King ordered troops to control the situation in that Paris. On 14th July, agitated crowd attacked and destroyed the Bastille fort, and they headed prison. Understand? In countryside, rumors spread from village to village. The lords, they are sending some troops. They were destroying the crops, ripened crops. So that's why all the peasants and the farmers in several districts seized that hoes and pitchforks and attacked that houses. And at the same time, they looted all the documents, food grains, burnt the documents and records in that. A large number of nobles fled from their homes, many of them migrating to neighboring countries. Understand? Finally, Louis XVI accorded recognition to the National Assembly, means he decided to recognize the National Assembly. He accepted the principle that his powers would from now on be checked by the Constitution. On the night of 4th August in 1789, the Assembly passed a decree abolishing the feudal system of abolition of taxes. Understand? The members of the clergy, they were forced to give up their privileges. Tithes means taxes were abolished. Lands owned by the church were confiscated means collected and redistribute to all the needed people. As a result, the government acquired assets worth at least 2 billion livres. Here, livres means what? Livres were the currency of France. Understand? Look at this picture. You can understand. This was the France draft constitution in 1791. From that onwards, France became a constitutional monarch. Present day, England also called as constitutional monarch. So one side, king or queen ruled the country. At the same time, parliament also continued. Similarly, the National Assembly completed the draft of constitution in 1791. This was France related. Its main objective was limit the powers of the monarch. The powers, instead of being concentrated in the hands of only one person, are now changed, separated, and assigned to the different institutions. What are that? Institutions means organizations. Legislative means legislature, executive, and judiciary. Understand? Look at this picture. So, judiciary, executive, and legislature. You can see this. National Assembly, how many members are there? It comprises of 745 members. Electors, 50,000 members are there, men. Understand? In that, active citizens and passive citizens are there. Who are called active citizens? They were entitled to vote. They are called active citizens. Entitled means they are getting a right to vote. About 4 millions of a population of 28 millions. They are called active citizens. అంటే యాక్టివ్ సిటిజన్స్కి ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారు పాపులేషన్లో? 4 millions were there. They were active citizens out of 28 millions. Passive citizens means who are that? They had no voting rights. They were called passive citizens. How many members were there? There were 3 million men, women, children and youth below 25 age group. They were passive citizens. Understand? So this was the new political system. In that France, the Constitution of 1791 vested the powers to make laws in the National Assembly. The National Assembly ki complete powers అనేది ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది, which was indirectly elected. That is, citizens voted for a group of electors who in the turn choose the assembly. Not all citizens, however, had the right to vote. Only men above 25 years of age, mainly who paid taxes equal to at least 3 days of a labor's wage, were given the status of active citizens. They only had a right to vote. They were getting entitled to vote. The remaining men and all women were classed as, means declared as, passive citizens. Understood? In this picture, judiciary, judge belong to that judiciary. What is judiciary? It is related to making law, giving justice, making laws in legislature, but justice or judgment given in the judiciary. Executive duty to implement that laws. Who are executive in that? King and the ministers. Understand? King was under the control of National Assembly. Okay. The Constitution of French began with Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizens. Here, look at this picture. Here mentioned only 10 important points given. Many rights are there. Understand? First one, see, men are born and remain free and equal in the rights. Understand? Next, the aim of every political association is the preservation of the natural and inalienable rights of man. There are liberty, property, security, and resistance to oppression. Third one, the source of all sovereignty resides in the nation. No group or no individual. Understand? Individual may exercise authority that does not come from the people. Liberty consists of powers to do whatever is not injurious to others. The law has the right to forbid only actions that are injurious to society. Understand? Law is expression of the general will. Okay? Louis XVI had signed the constitution. He entered into secret negotiations with the king of Prussia. Prussia means it's called Germany. Now it's called Germany. The rulers of other neighboring countries too were worried by the developments in the France and made plans to send troops to put down, means control the events that had been taking place there since the summer of 1789. మరిన్ని వీడియోస్ కోసం మా ఛానల్ని సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయండి, షేర్ చేయండి, అండ్ ఫైనల్లీ క్లిక్ ఆన్ ది బెల్ ఐకాన్. థ్యాంక్ యూ.